holding that together, the humerus just gonna fall right off. There's no cup. All you have to hold those bones together, it's very much like the knee. It's all soft tissue. Even more muscle wrappings, think of the rotator cuff, tendons and ligaments. Now, just like the knee, it's beautifully designed for the original work it was designed to do. Your knee is designed to push backwards when you're running on all forces. So it manages that very well. It doesn't handle upright postures very well at all. The shoulder joint is designed for brachiation, which means you grab a tree and you swing from branch to branch. So you have this incredible, you have to be able to do this with a joint. So you need a joint where there's no big bony reinforcements, nothing locking it together, and that it's got a lot of soft tissue with a lot of give. So now you have a joint that allows this beautiful movement. On the other hand, it isn't very good at handling any kind of swinging from trees when you weigh over about 20 pounds. Okay? That's how much primates weigh. You know, maybe you don't see gorillas brachiating very much. They're too heavy. The shoulder joint can't handle it. So the joint doesn't work well for carrying heavy bodies. Now, I know we don't hang from trees very much, but we do the equivalent when we do things that use the joint forcefully, like throwing a baseball. So when you're throwing a baseball at great velocity, you're putting the same kind of forces on the joint that you would as if you were hanging from a tree. So any kind of heavy work with that joint over maybe 20, 25 pounds, which is what it's adapted for, is going to put strain on the joint. Bursitis, tendon and ligamentous tears, chronic arthritis. So it's very unstable, very fragile because of these, because it's so poorly adapted for the heavy use of a big animal. So we are not going to learn the anatomy of this joint in any great detail. I simply want you to realize that this is like a bunch of bones held together with marshmallows and saran wrap. So how good is that going to be at sustaining significant forces? Many marshmallows, many bursa holds all the bones in the proper position. And then you have a joint capsule, and you have numerous, on top of it, numerous ligaments as one bone attaches to the next, and then many, many tendons cross over the joint as well. So this is all soft tissue. It's all ligament and tendon, and it's not only that, it's highly mobile in every direction. You thought the knees were a problem? Well, we don't spend all of our day doing this with our knee, unless you happen to be a ballet dancer, right? You do this with your knee, right? But with your shoulder, you do this. Movement in every single direction, and carrying and lifting and pulling, so you get forces in every direction. So you overwork all the tendons, all the ligaments, and all the bursa. Not because of your bad habit as a person, but because it's a monkey joint, right? And it's not meant to do that kind of work. It's meant to temporarily brachiate you through the trees at 25 pounds, and then that's all the heavy work you do with the joint that day.
So people who overlift, like for exercise purposes, have a lot of issues then.
Oh my God, the shoulders are going to give out. Anybody who overuses the shoulder joint, you know, you're going to have to rely on your good DNA. You know, do you have just good genetics, good design, good luck, whatever?
We'll find out.
That design is just not designed. Gymnasts, but you know, gymnasts are light.
Yeah.
You know, there's an understanding that if you're going to be a good gymnast or a good dancer, you need to be light, and you need to have a compact body. These big bodies, these 6 foot tall monkeys that we are, you know, our joints aren't adapted to handling that kind of weight at all. So yeah, any kind of heavy. Yeah, it's
No hips, no boobs, no butt.
nothing. Just nothing. It would be fine if we had a life expectancy of 35, but we lived to 85. You've got to expect these joints to show a little bit of wear and tear. Now, the descriptor, the best describe the ligamentous, the support system here, is called the rotator cuff. And the rotator cuff, which you will learn if you go into physical therapy, there it is there, is a series of ligaments and tendons that wrap around that joint, front to back and back to front, to give that joint stability. And the problem with the rotator cuff is that most of that ligamentous support is at the front, and there's less at the back. So the joint is not that stable towards the back. So you can actually dislocate it, and when you do, you tend to dislocate to the back, where the joint is pushed, so the humerus here is pushed back, and you tear towards the back, and tear the rotator cuff. But any repetitive injury and work, like heavy weightlifting or ball throwing, can strain and tear the ligaments of the rotator cuff. It tends to be a posterior injury. Now, I want to remind you that this is not easy to fix. You can go in and repair torn ligaments and tendons, but you're going to have a lot of scar tissue. And the torn ligaments and tendons, when they repair, will never repair without perfect function. Any scar interrupts the direction of collagen filaments, right? So people who have severe rotator cuff injuries that require surgical repair rarely have a shoulder that can perform at the functional level that it did before. Now, that's not a problem for you and me, but if you are a pitcher, a baseball pitcher, your career's over with a rotator cuff injury. It's very difficult to come back from that, because you need to be able to throw a ball at over 100 miles per hour? Is that what they do? I don't know baseball. But that puts forces on the joint that scar-riddled rotator cuff can't accommodate. So when you train young athletes in baseball in particular, while you might have a kid who's very talented, who can throw very fast, and again, the shoulder tends to dislocate to the back because the connective tissue wrappings are thinner towards the back. So you don't dislocate towards the front, you dislocate towards the back. Like if you're lying down on your back and somebody steps on your shoulder joint, person or a horse, you're going to dislocate to the back. And then I mentioned the rotator cuff injury, which is probably mostly seen in baseball pitchers as far as I know. I suppose if you were a weightlifter, or you had any kind, if you built beautiful stone walls, you could absolutely injure your rotator cuff. And then bursitis, we've mentioned. The shoulder is particularly prone to bursitis because it has so many bursa, and because it has this full range of motion, 360 degrees. And that's what it looks like and feels like, oh yeah. And there's not much you can do about a bursitis except to quiet the joint to let the inflammation go down, and then maybe take some anti-inflammatories like aspirin or Aleve, and maybe an injection of an anti-inflammatory like prednisone to help reduce that swelling. But boy, once you get a bursitis, they tend to come back. So here, bursitis is